A year ago, in came Erik Ten Hag. And he spoke on that day before a ball was kicked in anger at the start of the season about what the plan was.
The plan is huge and we only have a short time, but of course we will first roll it out to the staff and we roll it out to the players, and you will see. What we're thinking about is this is a project. I know it takes time, but I also know that in this club, and I have the experience with other clubs like Ajax and Bayern Munich, in the top is never time, but we want to win. We want to win every game, so we go from game to game, and then we will see. And we have to set clear purposes, clear strategy, and then you need people who have capabilities and have the right attitude, and a positive attitude, and 100% committed and work hard, and then we will achieve success.
That was Ten Hag a year ago. Alex Crook alongside Karl Robinson with me in studio this morning. It's clear strategy. We know what we want to do. We know what we have to do. How close to doing it have they got, Alex?
Closer, as Carl's already indicated. Back in the top four last season, but I think you saw even in that FA Cup final there was a big gap between City and United that didn't exist a decade ago. It certainly does now. I think the bare minimum has to be Champions League football. That a club of this size and stature must be playing in Europe's premier club competition every season, and adding silverware. The trophy drought is over thanks to that Carabao Cup final victory, but that is the lowest of the trophies that Manchester United entered last season. So I think, again, with this investment, is 166 million, by the way, not 180. I know the producer will say, well, there's add-ons, but the add-ons for Mason Mount factor in the team winning trophies. So if they have to pay that extra £5 million, United will be happy about that.
You're so bitter.
But with that investment, they're going to have to be. They're going to have to be closer to Manchester City. It is a big amount of money, but again, a club like Manchester United that generate the revenue they do should be spending that money. But the 166 million is not the most staggering figure. The most staggering figure is the one from the latest set of Manchester United's accounts, which show they're almost £1 billion in debt. That's been on the Glazers' watch. And £1 billion.
Was that on your mind when they lifted the Carabao Cup at Wembley?
Not overly. I was enjoying the moment. But it is a worrying figure.
Worrying to do.
It shouldn't.
Simon says it shouldn't worry anybody.
It shouldn't get to that.
It doesn't worry the Glazers.
Well, it worries a lot of Manchester United fans.
What are they worried
because
about?
The club should generate enough revenue to not rack up debts of £1 billion.
So are you happy with Mount, Onana and now Højlund coming in?
Yes. I'm happy that Erik Ten Hag has managed to scout his own players.
So what's there to bleat
and
about?
That the board have gone with him.
But what is there to bleat about?
How quickly
did bleat about?
How quickly did he get that to £1 billion in debt? How long has that taken?
Well, that's during their tenure.
Just during.
So it's a long time.
Yeah.
Too long. A lot of Manchester United fans.
Especially with no trophies.
But listen, don't take my word for this. Let's get Manchester United fans calling in.
But they're going to call in and agree with you.
Manchester United fans who disagree with me, I would be surprised. You know, I go to Old Trafford, I speak to fans on a match day, and they're unified. They want a change of ownership, and they were promised a change of ownership in November, and that change hasn't come.
There's Scott in Darlington. I've had enough of listening to Manchester United fans and Alex Crook moaning about the Glazers. Simply get on with it until it changes. There's a Liverpool fan, James, who's probably delighted that you're on, Carl, this morning. Many of them are. At the end of the day, should they not be praised, the Glazers, for finding and appointing Ten Hag? They didn't have to go far to find him. But by appointing Ten Hag, there is hope.
There's been a sea change.
They've made some good decisions, by the way. They've made some good signings, some good decisions.
Made some bad ones.
Everybody does.
So what club hasn't?
Yeah, but everybody has. And if you look at Liverpool, you look at the history of Liverpool, even recent history, that's 20 years, we've made some bad decisions. And you're saying the gap between Man United and Man City, that's evolution of football. That's what happens in football. You have years where clubs, the team of the R, I remember growing up watching Arsenal, great day, when Liverpool in the 80s, then United, and now we have City. There's always going to be a team that gets so far ahead that there is a gulf in some ways.
Did you see that coming? Did you think when Sir Alex Ferguson won his last title by 11 points?
Yeah, I think
within a decade they'd be so far behind Manchester City.
But he was that good. He was that good. He was Manchester United for me, and he was the owner, he was the CEO, he was the head of recruitment.
Yeah.
He encompassed everything about that football club that did become one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And Liverpool were the same. I just think they've got carried away a little bit.
No one's entitled to win the Premier League, Alex.
Absolutely.
Liverpool know that.
No, they're
Liverpool
not.
fans know that.
I agree with that, but I don't see why we're trying to attack Manchester United fans for protesting and wanting a change of ownership. That the whole reason that the Super League was brought to its knees was because the fans took to the street in protest. I don't think we should be attacking the fans.
Yes, but the Glazers aren't listening.
And it's a myth as well. People say that the Norwich City scarves only come out when United are losing. They've been protesting against the Glazers, those fans, for a long time.
The listeners obviously
win, lose or draw.
Listen, I'm not a Man United fan whatsoever, and there's obviously unrest. You can sense that, but I do think this year they'll close the gap, 100%. I think there will be a change in shortly. I do believe that. I think Man City, in some ways, that you look at Chelsea and Liverpool, Manchester United in this window, have got stronger with managers and players that they brought in.
Will they close the gap this season, Karl?
I think
it was
they will.
14 points.
I've been a bit critical of the Premier League last season, the way it sort of ended. It was a bit dour in some ways, wasn't it? There was only 2 teams really in it, and everything else was done. This year, you can see Arsenal are going to be better with Declan Rice being there. I think this is geared up to be one of the best Premier League seasons we've seen for a long time.
Well, I mean, the figure, Alex is playing with a few million, certainly. But you're right to do that, Alex, because accuracy is everything. But let's call it 179 million quid. That's what they've spent so far, with add-ons, whatever add-ons are.
Exactly.
I love those words, add-ons. But the bottom line is this: it's close to 180 million quid with add-ons applied to it. But they've brought in Mount, they've brought in Onana, and they're bringing in this Atalanta boy, Højlund. In comes Rasmus Højlund, who apparently everyone's extremely excited about. So should United fans not be excited about the new season and trying to bridge that 14-point gap between themselves and City? For some of you, it's still about protest, because further protests with the sale of the football club are ongoing. You're going to take part in it, or you're going to quit it and just get behind the team?
Why can't it be both, Jim? Why can't you be excited about the season and still voice your unrest?
Yeah, for sure. But the second part of that is achieving next to nothing. Because the Glazers will maybe sell, maybe this season, maybe next month, maybe next year, maybe in 2026. There's nothing to make me think that this is in any way getting to the Glazers like, we better get a bend on and sell this football club. It's not happening.
Do you think the whole process of trying to sell the football club has been becoming of a club like Manchester United? All these different deadlines, all these different auditions. It's been like an episode of The X Factor. Is that how Manchester United should be conducting their business?
That's the modern day football, though, isn't it?
It's business.
Like, look at the Chelsea owner.
Well, that was a unique situation.
Yeah, but the game's changing. So the ownership of Simon Jordan, who made his money and had this football club, the club that he loved.
Yeah.
The it's changed. It's not what it once was or how we grew up.
And you're not selling a bag of crisps. You're talking about a multi-billion pound sell. Multi-billion pound sell. It's a lot to take on. And they'll only go when they're happy. Simon has told us that ad nauseum. They'll only go when they get what they want. That's why they're not moving. So surely the shift of focus has got to be on the pitch. And what can United do this season? What they've got to do is bridge a 14-point gap. 03717 223344 81089. We won't let this go.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.